single setting. And once I had the basic kind of concepts, I ran with it and started writing it, and it all came out from there fairly quickly.
And one of the most striking elements watching the film is the very precise use of modern English. So I'd like to hear from each of the actors, like, what was your first impression on reading the script? So if we could go around, maybe starting with Freddie.
I thought the script was absolutely amazing. I mean, I came onto the team quite late, but I remember reading the script and having not very much time to prepare the audition and thinking, I have to give everything to this. So I stayed up till pretty early in the morning learning the lines because the script was so good. And as you say, Tom's sort of mastery of the language of the period, but without making you feel distanced from the characters was so brilliant. And it read like a thriller, even though it was done in sort of semi-oldie English. It was really amazing.
Okay, so you immediately wanted to be involved. Yeah. Tanya, at what point did you come on, and what did you think? How did the script come to you?
Well, just I'd just come out of drama school, so like 6 months before, so I was just auditioning and getting rejected everywhere by everyone, yeah, so I just auditioned for it, and I don't think I hadn't read the script when I did the audition, and then I did the audition and then read the script and loved it, but I was so used to getting rejected at this point that I didn't expect to actually get it, and I was kind of annoyed by how much I liked it. Because it just read so beautifully, and I hadn't actually read anything like that before, and I don't think I've read anything like that since, actually. But yeah.
So how did that work then? Because I, in my lack of knowledge of the process, would assume you would read a script and then like audition a part of the script. How did it work for your audition then if you hadn't seen the script first?
Oh no, it just was that it was often you don't have a lot of time to get a tape in, and I had to do a self-tape, and I just didn't have very much time to do it. You usually get like a day or something, so I just didn't have time to read the whole thing. Okay. I was so like, my outlook at this point was just quite negative. I didn't think I would get it, and I just was getting auditions, self-tapes all the time, and auditioning for things and not getting them, so I just didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, here's another one, I'll do it, I won't get it. And then I just happened to read it afterwards because it was really interesting, the sides, and I loved it, and I was like, fuck, this is great. And then I got another audition, so I was more prepared.
You were in. And Maxine, you're in the sort of like the polar opposite position of Tanya. You must be sort of deluged with scripts. What was it about this when you read it that made you want to be involved?
Sorry, I've lost my earphone already.
Oh no.
So professional. To be honest, I got a call from my agent saying there's a script coming your way, and your agent always gives you a little blurb. And as soon as they said sort of 17th century, I was like, right, I'm in, because that's sort of one of my sort of areas of fascination. And then, but there's always that dread, because I usually think when your agent gives you that sort of brief synopsis of a script, it's terrible. But usually from those couple of sentences, I go, oh yeah, that sounds great. So I got really excited about it. But then sometimes, obviously, you can read the script and then be really disappointed. But luckily, that didn't happen. And I just love the accomplishedness of it, and the fact that you do feel very much in that world, like you were saying, Thomas's mastery of the language, but it doesn't exclude you. It's not too dense, where you didn't feel you could, you can follow and get to know the characters and stick very closely to the story. So I just thought it ticks all the boxes for me. I got very excited. And I've had a very, so that was my, I was very lucky at that point to, get a straight offer, but we've all been where Tanya's been, and he's no longer there anymore, Tanya, so to them.
Just to follow up, what is it that fascinates you about the 17th century?
Well, for me, it's the movements. It's the grassroots movements. One of my favourite films is Winstanley. And like Thomas, I'd read, years ago, The World Turned Upside Down, and then I did a TV series, Channel 4, called The Devil's Whore. So it's the levelers, the diggers, the ranters, the high attainers. It was all of those sort of grassroots, sort of proto-socialist, you know, green environmentalist movements that I've always been fascinated by, because at school you don't learn about that. We learned about the Roundheads and the Cavaliers, and it was only through, you know, learning outside of the curriculum and through people that I knew that were political, who said, oh, well, if you're doing this, you want to have a look at that. So for me, I just found that was a really exciting time in British history. You know what I mean? It was the English Civil War, the two English Civil Wars, I think were yeah, I think, and it's so rich. It feels it's a time that can be excavated, you know, and I think Thomas caught it all and gave us a thriller stroke, Western stroke. Yeah, you know, people say folk, I'm not allowed to, and it's not, I don't think it is a folk horror. It isn't that, but you know, it ticks all those boxes with its atmosphere, and I think there's something very atmospheric about, you know, and I do love a bit of folk horror, even though I'm saying it's not, but it was right up my street. So
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's correct. No, it's you know, if you care and you want to elaborate, I want you all to feel that you can. Charles, are you equally passionate about the 17th century, or was it a different in for you?
I'm just as passionate about that period. It was one of the best scripts I'd read around that time. Really, really well written, and I love the story, and I love the title. And so my first question was, who is playing Fanny? And when I was told it was Maxine Peake, I said, well, if he wants me to do it, if Tom McClay wants me to do it, then I would love to do it, because she's wonderful.
Great. And so, Thomas, to come back to you, it seems like there was a lot for your cast to get to grips with before shooting. You know, there was the accent, there was, I believe, fencing. So can you talk to me a bit about the pre-production period and how that then led into the shoot?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a lot of time for, you know, rehearsal. I think the cast was still coming together, even as we were starting to film. Actually, I think Freddie joined us in the third week of the shoot, and Peter, you know, the sheriff, came on the third or fourth week, and so it was all kind of. But you know, pre-production, the main focus in pre-production, to be honest, was building the set. Okay. Because we wanted to you know, kind of create the set from the ground up and have a 360-degree indoor outdoor set like Days of Heaven or The Revenant, and so and also using traditional craftsmen as much as possible. So we spent a number of months kind of I mean, obviously first finding the location, and then
the main location,
planning it. And sorry,
where was the main location with the cottage?
It was in Shropshire, yeah, near Bridgnorth. And we looked across the whole West Midlands and eventually found this farm where everything just fell into place. This position of the woods and the hill off to the west, and we knew that the sun would be falling in just the right place. And it wasn't the most, I suppose, practical location. We had to build a aluminium road to kind of get all the equipment in, about a kilometre, but it was worth it. So.
And Maxine, so much of what's happening for Fanny is interior. You know, she's kind of bearing witness to all these things, and the film is sort of about that sort of finally transforming her. How do you go about preparing for a role that is so much inside a character's head?
I think really it's about getting, it's like anything, as long as you've got the foundations of your character, it's getting a good backstory. You know, sometimes, and that is something that you have to sort of, you know, if it's not always the immediate details in the script, you know, Fanny sort of, there's elements that you can pluck about Fanny's life, but then it is about, you've got to just have it all there to sort of tap into. So back history, a backstory, a mini sort of bio, really. But a lot of it really is just about engaging in the scene. It's just about being present. I think, you know, is that old sort of slightly corny, but it's true. You know, acting is reacting, so it's about feeling present. You know, present in the scene and you know, observing everything that's going on. And yeah, it's yeah, I'm not really I'm not a method. I'm not a method actor. I see a little bit more of play, you know what I mean? So it's very much just, yeah, it's a bit like bungee jumping, stand on the edge, jump off and see what comes. And I think sometimes that can be exciting if you can't pre-plan, I don't believe. You have an idea where a scene is going. I did with Fanny Lye, but again, you know, it depends on each individual actor and what they're giving you. And I think that's really exciting. And luckily I had 4 brilliant, you know, but and Peter and Perry and, you know what I mean, but brilliant actors to work with who give you sort of reams of material, you know, so.
So you kind of really make yourself open to what your co-stars are bringing.
Yeah, I think that's it. It is about being very open to it. It's sort of having your antennae on sort of high alert, I think, really. But I just felt I got, it's that thing sometimes you just read a character and go, I get this, I get her, I think I get her. And you know, the more you work with a character, obviously, the more you grow and the character evolves with you and things will surprise you as, you know, as still surprises me about myself in, you know, everyday life. But yeah, it was, you know, and going with the mood, sometimes just the mood of the day. Sometimes you know, external sort of circumstances can have can be quite good to tap into to, you know, bring onto set. And, you know, wasn't the easiest of shoot at times. So that was good fodder, actually, you know.
On the note of things not being easy, Charles, your character finds himself in a lot of sort of undignified physical positions, you know, like whether it's being bested in a fight by a younger man or like having to, while injured, collect water. Like, what was it like for you on a physical level to perform this role?
It was quite physical, yeah. But you know, we tend to look after each other in this business, I hope, and we're in the business of pretending. So, you know, I pretend to be hurt. Hopefully Freddie pretends to hit me. And you know, and we try to make an audience believe that is what's happening. Yeah, as Maxine said, there were times when it was not the easiest of shoots at that time of year in a beautiful but difficult location. But, you know, the characters in this story, they're not well-heeled, comfortable people. They lead a pretty tough life. And as Maxine said, that was, you know, it's all actually quite useful stuff. We might moan about it at the time, and my God, I did. But it all kind of feeds into what we're doing. And I just like working, do you know? And sometimes a job is easy and sometimes it's not quite so easy, but I just like working. So it doesn't matter where the job is and what I'm doing, as long as I'm working and I'm working with nice people, I'm happy.
Okay, I feel like there's a story here, but I'll put a pin in that for the moment. So Freddie, your character gives a lot of impassioned speeches. I mean, like, personally, how legit do you think he is? Like, like your personal interpretation of Freddie of him, like, how much do you think he actually lives up to his ideals?
Oh, I think he thinks he lives up to them every day. I think in practice, he's as flawed and as hypocritical as all of us, perhaps more so than some. And he's a combination of a sort of ideological, freedom-fighting left-winger and a rampant misogynist. I mean, he's got all of that within him, which is what, of course, as an actor, makes him a wonderful part to play, added to which you get like 8-page, you know, duologue, you know, soliloquy sparring with, you know, Charles's character, which never happens on film. I mean, ever. And let alone, I mean, we were doing a lot of it, some of it in one continuous shot. I mean, it was ambitious stuff. So I think he believes you have to, but he's deceptive. He's all things. He's sort of devil and angel all at once.
Yeah, I feel like I've dated someone like him. So this,
Bad luck.
Haven't we all?
so this is a question at first for Tanya and then for Thomas. So yeah, obviously, Tanya, you have some nude scenes. Like, how is it for you to act naked? And are there certain things that make you more or less comfortable? And then I've got a second part of that question that's for Thomas.
Yeah, I think at the time, I felt very comfortable with everything, because it just felt, I think when, as an actress, when you're presented with a script that involves nudity, well, I don't know, when you're presented with any script, I feel like you read it, and then when there's any nude scenes, if they make you wince, or you just know that it's not right, that it's been put in for the wrong reasons, or that if you can sense when it is jarring to the whole script. And there are a lot of scripts that are like that. But with this, I didn't wince when I read those scenes. They didn't sit uncomfortably with me. And it felt very, from Rebecca's point of view, it all just felt very logical and it all made sense. And I think as well, what made it easier at the time, because the first nude scenes that we shot were with Fred and I running naked. We were naked at some point. I don't know if we were running somewhere, I don't know, but we were the goose shot, the infamous goose shot. So that was the first time that I had been naked on a set, and it just was like chill, because Fred was there. We'd just met like the day before, I think, and then we were just naked, and it was very cold, but it was all right. So yeah.
And yeah, Thomas, so there's been a lot, especially last year, about the role of intimacy, bringing in intimacy coordinators for sex scenes. So when you were filming the sex scenes and also the nude scenes, did you take any special precautions? Like, was it a skeleton crew, or like, did you have an intimacy coordinator at any point? Like, how did you make sure that the actors were comfortable in these more physically vulnerable scenes?
Sure. I mean, yeah, amazing. It's actually been 5 years now since we shot the film. So it was slightly before, I guess, the intimacy coordinators were coming in on independent films. But obviously we have a closed set, and make sure there's absolutely kind of minimum number of people, both kind of in the room or anywhere else. And I think it's better to leave most of those scenes towards the end of the shoot and kind of give the actors a chance to get to know each other and feel more comfortable in each other's presence. And it's all fairly specific as well, and the script is kind of describing pretty much everything that's happening, and obviously we talk about it beforehand a lot. And I guess, yeah.
Thank you. And Maxine, so I know that you said you kind of like, you're more of a like playful actor than a let me figure out with a psychology actor. But another thing that's really interesting about Fanny is she's the hero of the story, but she doesn't know that she's the hero of the story. Is that knowledge something that you also threw off when you were acting? Like you were sort of playing it real humble.
Well, I think sort of felt like that anyway on set. Sorry.
In what way?
Well, it was just sometimes it wasn't quite clear who the film was about.
Yes.
So, but I suppose it worked. It did. It's sometimes you can feel you're struggling, and but yeah, no, but that was her thing. She seemed sort of quiet and submissive. I never believed that for a minute. I just thought there was always a woman there with this, burning sort of desire and passion and to get out. But it was just not a possibility, and you know, and even a relationship. I know a few reviews had said, you know, we're sort of doting towards a son, and my Fanny was like, oh, she had a kid because you had to have a kid. You know, I don't mean in that term, but it wasn't. It was practical. It's like Charles said, it was a really hard life. It was about the practicalities of life. It was getting up. It was feeding yourself, feeding the animals, working hard. Not much, probably that much time to think. You know, there wasn't leisure time to sit around and nasal gaze, you know. So, but yeah, I think she felt very ignored and unseen, because that was her role. But I just always imagined that she had a great imagination under all that, you know what I mean, that was very well hidden. And then when Rebecca comes along, Tanya's character, I think that's when it first starts to unlock a little bit, when she sees this young woman who's got a completely, or appears to her at the time, a completely different future with a man. And then, you know, as the film unravels, you realise in some ways, in a similar situation, you know, it's still a man calling the shots or appearing to, you know. Sorry, did that answer the question?
No, you did. Well, you kind of like, you realized that the question wasn't that great, and then you interpreted
No. It was a great question. I ramble on, and at my age, once I get 3 sentences in, I go, sorry, what did they? I can't remember what they asked me.
Not having that at your age. Yeah, Charles, I was actually like, your character is so unsympathetic, but I was so moved by him, and he could so easily have been this quite stock character, you know, like a mouthpiece for certain like sort of devout puritanical views. But you know, I really felt for him, to my surprise. And again, maybe this is like an impossible question for you to answer, because like there's no one way you do it, it's just who you are as an actor. But like I felt like you had some empathy for him as a character. Is that fair to say? Did you come to a sort of appreciation for John Lye?
Yeah, sure. One, for me, I have to, most of the time anyway. John Lye believes in what he says and believes in the rightness of the way he behaves. He doesn't at any point, I don't think, feel hypocritical. I don't think he doubts what he is doing very much, because he basically follows the word of the good book. And in his way, he loves Fanny, and he certainly loves his son, and the 3 breed pigs, and the horse, and the goose, and everything else that we had to deal with there. And to answer your question briefly, yes, I did have some empathy with him, and I didn't see him as a 2-dimensional, black and white, nasty man at all.
Yeah, well, that really comes across. You kind of,
Good.
yeah, even though like I wanted him to lose what he lost, I was still sad for him when he lost what he lost. So it was a strange thing. So Freddie, I don't know if you're the right question to ask for this, but I just always like to know, maybe it's a question for Thomas, on bloody films, like how was the blood made? What was it made of?
What was it made of? I mean, oh gosh, I can't remember. Corn syrup. Oh, I mean, Tom, it's really a question for Thomas. I'll pass that over.
I'm not sure I know the answer to that fully either. I mean, I think it is actually just a kind of purchased, you know, you buy this stuff, it's kind of fake blood, comes from, I mean, I'm not the special effects team, but I think that's...
You did. There was quite a lot of it sloshing around at the end, though. I mean, there were like neck rigs with it spurting everywhere. Maxine got covered in it. I mean, covered in it like she had a bath.
Do you remember, Tom? I still remember an incident where Sandra, who's a makeup designer, brilliant makeup designer, had put some blood over my face, and she said to Thomas, "Is that enough?" And Thomas said no, and got the tub. And I've got this brilliant picture of me just dripping. He went, "That's enough." Yeah, it's that kind of film.
Yeah, I think they have to get the consistency just right, so it'll move through the tube on the neck and those kind of things. Yeah, although we did add some as well in later on. There's some kind of CG blood in there too. So.
Okay, mixed media blood. Okay, so in that case, Freddie, my question for you is tell us about getting shot off your horse, or was that your stunt double?
It was a combination. It was me up until the moment. You have to do these really weird things where you just freeze in the moment of being shot. So you keep doing take after take going like this, and then they comp in a fake head, which then explodes. And then on top of that, you know, you've got the stunt guy who falls off the horse, and then you've got the CG that melds it all together. But actually, when you saw it in the cinema, I mean, my dad is like super level, nothing gets him. But when the head, you don't expect, I know I'm probably ruining it for people who haven't seen it, but when the head goes, whew, he had a jump.
So it's the time has come to throw this open to audience questions, and one has come in for Thomas. So well, it starts with some praise. Congratulations on a brilliant film. Thomas, was it important to you to strike a balance between Black comedy and extreme peril? And if so, how did you do this?
Yeah, I mean, I always like to, I don't like to kind of stick to one path. I like to have lots of things going on and different shifts in tone. And, I'm not too worried, I guess, about whether it's fitting into one box or another. And then when I'm writing, I just kind of follow my feeling and my instincts, and it goes where it goes. Certainly, I like to have some Black comedy in my films. I think you don't want to get too dark without having a laugh here and there.
So the next question that's come in is for all of the actors, and we'll start with Tanya because you're overdue a question. What was the most challenging part of the process for you?
God. Oh God. I think for me, I think it was all very challenging because it was my very first job, and so as much as I was having a great time, because I didn't know anything different, so I was so happy to be there, but at the same time it was really hard, just like I was really struggling with my self-confidence and just had no idea what I was doing. And when I watched the film for the first time last year, I can see that in my eyes, that I'm just this kid who has no idea what's going on. And it was just a very kind of like, it was quite a tough shoot. It was very, it was very cold, and we were naked a lot of the time. And it was quite physically demanding. But yeah, I think just generally just not having a clue what I was doing and being terrified every single day. But yeah, but the cast was so good and supportive, and everyone made me help me out a bit. But yeah, that's my answer. Next.
Okay, that sounds a lot. Next to you, what did you find most challenging?
Was that?
Oh, either yeah, Maxine, you can. It's for all of you. So whoever wants to go next.
Oh no, sorry. I just sorry. Hello, is that me?
Yes, it is you. What did you find the most challenging part of it?
Oh God. All of it. We can laugh now, can't we?
Oh, God bless you, Maxine.
No, it was. Yeah, it was. It was difficult. The conditions were tough. We went on a lot longer than we expected to shoot. We went sort of quite a bit over, but that was, it was just, all we all wanted to do was finish the film. We had a lot of passion for the film, but yeah, it was battling with the conditions. Yeah. The weather was difficult. The set could be quite difficult, and I mean, I'm being quite mean now, but even though we had this beautiful specifically built set, because it rained so much, it was full of camera gear, so you never quite got the feeling, So we'd have to negotiate because there's nowhere else to stop, because we didn't expect it to rain so much. But we did have a brilliant crew. We were really up against it on many occasions, and I think there's lots of good spirits. But yeah, next.
Yeah. Charles or Freddie, do you have anything to add?
Terrible catering.
Oh
Really the worst. That and on films like this, period films like that, when one is adhering to the dictates of very well informed, rightly so, but pedantic historical advisors. I yearn for Velcro. You've got a jacket that's got 50 buttons down the front. You think, no, just do them all up and put a bit of Velcro underneath. Nobody's going to know the difference, do you know? Anyway, sorry.
Okay, your turn to take a swing, Freddie.
I think it's all been said.
Okay. Okay, so moving on. Thomas, you were also the composer of the film. This is unusual for a director. Can you talk us through the process? And this is me adding something. I see you sourced period instruments like lutes. So talk about that as well.
Yeah. I mean, it was a really wonderful thing to be able to write the music. It wasn't supposed to happen. It was I guess the process of elimination. We spent so long kind of looking for a composer that by the time we got to the end of that, the themes for the film were starting to come into my head, and I just couldn't. It was too much to hand it over to someone else at that point, because I'd studied music. That was actually my subject when I was at university. I'd be very lucky that the BFI kind of allowed me to do it. The concept was to only use instruments that existed in the 17th century. So we could just get away with the strings, but the whole wind section had to be replaced, the brass section. We actually gave each character their own instrument. So Fanny is a cornet, John is a sackbut, had a Renaissance sitar and a theorb, which was Thomas and Rebecca together. Arthur is a sopranino recorder. So we had to cast these parts kind of almost in the same way that you cast the actors. And then recorded it at Air Studios in London. Had a great time doing that, and it was a nice thing to do.
And the next question is also for you, Thomas. It must have been challenging for your DOP, and how did you work together on this with your DOP?
Yeah, Yorgos. Yeah, I mean, Yorgos is a brilliant, cinematographer. He's worked with Theo Angelopoulos, Dardenne Brothers, Costa Gavras. He's kind of one of the great European cinematographers, and so he has a very clear idea, particularly with regards to lighting. He really wants the light to be perfect. And I mean, we worked together before actually on my debut feature film, The Great Ecstasy of Robert Carmichael. So I always had Yorgos in mind. I think from the beginning. He'd be the right person to capture that kind of, again, getting that kind of Days of Heaven kind of feeling that we wanted in the film. It's really, I'm quite specific about where the camera goes. That's kind of important to me. So, I think with Yorgos, it's about, we spend a good amount of time in pre-production talking about the feel of the film and the feel of the lighting, and then, the key thing really is just giving him time on set to light. I think there is a tendency these days to want to rush things and light the shot in 10-15 minutes, but if you want that kind of more that kind of quality look, you do have to give the DOP time to work, and I think really pleased with what he managed to do.
Yes, it is very atmospheric. So a question for Tanya: but I think it applies to others of you as well, so feel free to say your pieces afterwards. Tanya, how does acting for film differ from acting for TV, if at all?
Just in my limited experience, I think just things in TV move a lot quicker is the main thing. A lot quicker. And I think that's the main thing I would say.
Does anyone else want to chime in?
Well, in terms of your actual prep as an actor and what you're doing, it isn't any different, really. Your process. I think I'm speaking for everybody here, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But it's the same. It's more or less the same. You prepare any part on a matter of the medium. You're just aware of you know, on TV and film, small movements are going to seem larger, and in theatre you need to give it a bit more. But yeah, in terms of the amount of time on set that you have to rehearse and, you know, get a feel of the set, it's as T said, it's minimal on television by comparison. And even on an independent film like this, where you're not on a studio schedule, you've got a tighter schedule, albeit it was quite a long shoot for an indie. You always felt like a great deal of care and attention, a huge amount of detail and attention was being taken on setup, lighting and framing.
But I think as well, there was something about the size of the, I think this, and it depends on the film, but this film, it's the size of the canvas, I think as well. You know, and this, you knew it was a big canvas. So there's in some ways you can apply smaller detail, I think, in a way, sometimes, because, you know, the long lingering shots, and it can be like paintings, and, you know, so sometimes it's the impression rather than the, you know, on television, I think you've got to constantly, it's a performance, you've got to keep people engaged, haven't you? There's not lots of, well, I mean, television is changing now, you know, but that for me is always, I try and think of the size of the canvas you're sort of painting on, in a way, and what that will, you know, sometimes the bigger the canvas, the less you can do. Smaller the canvas sometimes.
It's also the size of the budget.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
But you know,
and I have to, yeah.
And these days, you know, the dividing line now between television and film, it has become really far less distinctive. I mean, it's quite blurred now. You know, there was a time when physically as well as metaphorically, television was something you looked down to. It was this little box that sat in the corner of your living room, and the cinema, it was something you looked up to. But now, a television, you can buy a television that's almost as big as a cinema screen anyway, you know, and the quality of stuff that you see on television, as I say, the means that the end result of what you're looking at, the dividing line is kind of blurred. But for an actor, for me personally anyway, the job is exactly the same. It really is.
So this might feed into the next question, which again is for the actors, and it's any advice for up and coming actors?
Don't do it.
Charlie.
It's just about hanging on in there. That's the only advice I can use. Hang on in there and do your work.
Yeah, you have to work hard. Come into it for the right reasons. You have it. I think it's something you must need to do, not want to do. Wanting to do it's not enough.
Yeah.
Any other advice for aspiring actors?
Well, I suppose it's never been a more daunting time to enter the industry than now. It's frightening, and it's very easy to think to feel impotent. And there has never been a better time, applying Charlie's theory of needing to do it, of being as versatile as possible and honing your diversity now through writing, through creating little short films yourself, because that in the end is what will mean that you can have a career of longevity. Never more pertinent now than it has ever been, I don't think.
Yes.
Try not to take things personally.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But really, you know, we'd have lost a lot of fantastic talent if they'd have sort of, like Charles says, it's a need. So you will take those, feels like slaps in the face constantly, because, you know, you've got to, it's not an option, you know, but you've got to, can't take it personally.
Any tips on developing that resilience? Because of course, as actors, you need to also access sensitivities.
I think it's just like anything, it just builds up. It's like hard skin on the bottom of your feet. It just builds up. You know, I remember getting, you know, umpteen rejections when I first started and being devastated, you know, months of, if only I played that part, so I wanted that part, and then it went to 2 weeks, and then it went a week of devastation, then a day, and then half an hour now, usually.
So be patient and it will come.
Yeah, there's always something else around the corner.
Okay. we're running low on time, so I'm gonna give one of the more lighter questions. So for everyone, any funny outtakes you can share? Funny, not challenging. Funny.
Oh, the pièce de résistance of outtakes with Maxine's wig.
Oh yeah. my wig fell off during the threesome.
It was the first take, and I remember getting too into it and holding the back of Maxine's head like I was holding the back of her hair, and this thing slipped halfway down her face. And also, I had a lot of fake beard work going on.
Well,
so
fake other things, Freddie, as well, darling.
Everything was fake. Everything on me, and all of it was coming out. It was like Team America, bits coming out in people's mouths. It was a nightmare.
We had some vicious pigs. The pigs were quite vicious, weren't they? I mean, they weren't outtakes, but we had some quite angry pigs. Probably just picked up the atmosphere on set. Joking.
I also remember that when we were doing that goose shot, which is the big long mast shot of this, is an amazing shot, in the film. But there was 13, 14, 15 takes. Thomas, you'll remember how many there were. It was a long thing. And I remember at the end of it, literally freezing my nuts off, and poor T, freezing as well, running out completely naked in front of our German first AD going, "What the hell is going on?" And she just saw this naked, mad actor who'd only just arrived a few days before. God, anyway.
But we've got to just mention Sandra O'Brien, our amazing makeup designer, who I've never known anybody so versatile. Had things thrown at her last minute and could just, she was extraordinary and kept us all sane. So
Great sense of humor.
Yeah, Sandra's great.
Shout out to Sandra. Final question, if we could just rattle through everyone. What are you up to next?
What am I up to next?
Yeah, next.
I've no idea, darling. I haven't got a clue.
You're open to offers, are you saying?
Say that again?
Are you open to offers?
Always.
Okay, Thomas, what are you up to next?
I mean, there's various kind of irons in the fire, but you just don't know which one might, take off. So I don't know. I can't say at this point. I mean, actually, I've been focusing on. We're getting an extended cut of the film actually out on next month on Blu-ray. So,
how long is that, Tom? 130
minutes.
30 hours.
That's my focus. We're kind of just trying to sell copies of that. One at a time.
Great. Maxine, what have you got for us?
What am I doing? The only thing in the future, I've got a film called. A film with director called Alan Friel, and I'm going off to a remote island off the coast of Ireland. So I'm a glutton for punishment with the brilliant Naomi Aki. So that's hopefully, fingers crossed, as indies, nothing's set in stone till you're in the makeup show on the first day. But that's Woken, it's called. That's the next project for me, but not for a while yet.
Okay, well, fingers crossed that travel becomes more possible in the coming months. Tanya, so I believe you're filming the next season of Sex Education.
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. And I mean, if I just want to stay alive, that's my main priority right now. If I can make it to the end of 21, then I'm happy. But yeah, that's me.
And Freddie, rounding off.
A couple of bits of telly, telly's saving our bacon at the minute. It's the only thing that really is going, really. So that just bits of TV for people.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us on a historic day for American politics. It's been very entertaining. And
wasn't Amanda Gorman fantastic?
So good. 22 years of age. Anyway, so thank you so much, Thomas, Maxine, Freddie, Tanya, and Charles.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh.
Thank you, everybody. I'm here. I'm just waiting to end the stream at the perfect moment because there's a lag of about 10 seconds and I don't want to cut you off. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. You're not live.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Thomas.
Thomas.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well done. You're a good
Well
sport.
Yeah, it's probably worth doing another Q&A. It feels like deja vu slide, doesn't it? This is supposed to be over by now, but
Yeah.
here we are still in lockdown.
It's nice to revisit it
soon,
in a
but-
way.
Hmm.
You know, going back over, there were a lot of happy moments there too. You know, I think I'd still say that I think it's probably the most vivid work memory I've ever had. I don't know.
Me too.
Yeah, just utterly still imprinted very much on my mind. It was so eccentric. But that's a wonderful thing, you know.
Hi everyone, I'm back.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was really, really entertaining. I was absolutely hysterically laughing at the wig thing. It's such an intense scene as well. It really made me laugh. Well, thank you so much, all of you. I will, or myself or Kira, one of the Vertigo team, will follow up with you in the morning just to say thank you. Thanks to all of you who have sent me your release form as well. If you haven't, it's super useful because we're probably going to send this to BAFTA members to give it that last boost. So yeah, take care. I hope you enjoy the rest of the evenings, and thanks again so much.
Send us the extended cut, Tom, when it's done. We'd love to see it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, get your copy of it. Next month they're supposed to come in. So
All right.
yeah, I mean it has both. Yeah, it's both versions. Yeah.
All right, everyone.
Great. Take care.
Thanks.
Nice to
Lovely
see
to
you
meet
all.
you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Good rest of filming time. Bye, Freddie.
Thanks,
Bye, Tom.
lovely.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Right.